enough about movies. Let's talk about the insane movie of life, because The Atlantic reports that the Trump administration accidentally texted me its war plans. People are getting put into the group chat with the besties. We're gonna read some texts. But first, very, very brief, non-comprehensive, no actually's allowed overview of some of what's going on here. This is the Middle East. This is Yemen. In Yemen, there is an Iranian-backed paramilitary force called the Houthis stationed right around here that are firing missiles, it looks like this, at this shipping lane here between the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea. This Gulf named after Aden Calvin, star of Lemonade Stand. This Gulf right here and this Gulf right here, the Strait of Hormuz, are extremely important because billions of dollars of goods and oil goes through it every day. You may think this stops here, but actually the Suez Canal connects the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. So tons of oil goes through here, goes up here, goes through here, and then gets into Europe. It's an extremely important shipping lane. The US has been putting pressure on Iran to not build nuclear weapons, not enrich uranium for nuclear weapons. And they've been sanctioning Iranian oil and trying to stop Iran from shipping out oil and stop shipping them from buying it. And in response to that, Iran has funded, there's other reasons, but I'm just talking about the economic ones. Iran has funded the Houthis in Yemen to stop oil shipments through here because the chaos this creates, first of all, it creates a higher oil price, which makes it easier to sell some of their unmarked black tanker Iranian oil on the global market. It raises the oil price. So it's like this back and forth battle for oil dominance, basically. And the United States has aircraft carriers that show up in this strait to try and keep the flow of goods going by fighting the Houthis. That is where the battle has been going on for a long time. This is a quick geopolitical overview to keep these ships running. Now, the primary beneficiary of this is indeed Europe, since most of the goods that go through here go to Europe. I think 3% America, 60% Europe or something like that. Now, the real problem, at least until very recently, has been that this is very, very, very expensive, extremely expensive. And this is very, very cheap. Extraordinarily cheap. So like until recently, I'm gonna talk about it a little bit more, but until very recently, you would be sending like a missile that costs $1 million, I'm not exaggerating, to shoot down a drone that costs $12K. So yes, America has more money, but it's an inopportune situation to be doing $1 million missiles to stop. There's an imbalance in cost. This is like the 2023 era. It's changing a little bit now, but that's, so I want to give you this context because that's the situation we find ourselves in as we go into these texts. What's not mentioned and what is important is that with conflict here, the global oil price, just with this being like difficult to ship through, is like 60 to 70 bucks. I think that's what it is right now, which is elevated because of conflict here. If for whatever reason, Iran ever tries to block this Gulf, oil price could go to 140, dude. If this ever escalates to the point where it goes from this one to this one, this is going to be catastrophic. So when this gets closed, shipments sometimes have to go all the way down around Africa, as you can see right here, which takes like 10 plus days and is thousands of dollars more expensive. So like this being blocked has geopolitical repercussions. And the United States has made it its goal to keep shipping lanes open for a long time. They spend a lot of money on it. That is where this situation comes to, and that's why there is a conflict between the Houthi rebels and America. All that being said, Pete Hesgeth, new phone Houthis. Because they have a private group chat called Houthi PC Small Group, which consists of all these people, where they discuss their strategy to do additional attacks on Yemen to fight the Houthis and keep the shipping lanes open. And all of these people should, well, I mean, this group shouldn't exist because you shouldn't be having signal private chats for government actions. Actually, I believe it's illegal. You're supposed to have these be recorded for the Freedom of Information Act. Even if they're sealed for now, they should be. I don't think you're allowed to have a signal private chat. It's too informal. But either way, these people should all be in there because they're discussing this military action. And they're supposed to have all these people plus one person with the initials JG. It's believed they wanted to invite Jameson Greer because he's the U.S. trade representative, USTR. But instead of inviting Jameson Greer, they accidentally invited Jeffrey Goldberg, editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, when discussing their plan to do military action in Yemen. And so Jeffrey Goldberg, editor-in-chief of, again, left-leaning magazine, The Atlantic, is like being handed on a silver platter, the private texts of people discussing war planning. It's insane. It's an insane operational security lapse. It's crazy. I mean, it's really, really insane. So Jeffrey Goldberg's in this group chat and they're saying shit like this. The president is not in this group chat. So I guess the highest ranking person in it is JD Vance. JD Vance at Pete Hegseth. If you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again. Let's make sure our messaging is tight here. And if there are things we can do up front to minimize risk to Saudi oil facilities, we should do it. I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's capital pathetic. This text leaking is not going to help our already frayed alliance with Europe. But Mike is correct. We are the only ones on the planet on our side of the ledger who can do this. Nobody else even close. Question is timing. He is saying that outside of China or perhaps Russia, nobody has the military capability to strike on the Houthis. So if we don't do it, the shipping lanes will be closed. And though the damage will be primarily to Europe, American trade is also being attacked on this. So it's still, it's still American tankers and ship. It's just less percent. Is posting this legal? I think freedom of the press, right? They invited him to the group chat. I feel like now is a good time as any given POTUS distinctive directed to open shipping lanes. I think we should go, but POTUS still retains 24 hours decision space. As I heard it, the president was clear, green light, but we soon make it clear to Egypt and Europe what we expect in return. So the idea is that America will shoot missiles here to try and open the shipping lanes. However, we will then go back to Egypt and Europe and like Mafia Don demand repayment for keeping their lanes open. Now, by the way, these attacks already happened. These missiles were already launched. That was why this was posted. So the writer of this article thought this was all fake. Jeffrey Goldberg here thought this was a fake psyop until they listed specific times for the missiles, and then missiles were launched at those specific times. Once the planes took off, then the writer realized, oh shit, this is real. And that's when they left the group chat and then they didn't publish the timings, but they published the other parts of the group chat that they're talking. So, it's pretty bad. It's pretty lax operational security at the highest levels of the military. That's sort of the context of what happened. That's where we got there. Now, what's crazy is you have generals now openly like giving Twitter updates at all times on shit that's going on. Like, we're in such a different world. So General David Alvin here, I find a message from him, and he's like, they're like posting video of missiles taking down Houthi drones. So I can say that they have at least recognized the cost problem and are now noticing that the new versions, the APKWS, only cost $35K versus the previous cost of $1 million. Then he adds this weird Walmart style slogan, more savings, more lethality, more Air Force. Which again, I don't know why generals are soft pitching marketing slogans on Twitter, but from a keeping shipping lanes open strategy, this is at least an update for America because the cost thing was getting out of hand. Like the $1 million one was not sustainable. So if this is reasonable, then at least they can go match for match on the drones. Anyway, let's read more of these texts. We also need to figure out how to enforce such a requirement. So what if Europe doesn't give them cash, or is super thankful for keeping the shipping lane open? If the US successfully restores freedom of navigation at great cost, there needs to be some further economic gain extracted in return. Agree. Again, doubtful that Europe is going to send cash for being thankful. And again, American shipping lanes were also part of it. It's just a smaller percent. But then you get to the good stuff here, where after the strikes happen, there's like everybody backslapping in the group chat, and Michael Waltz drops fist emoji, American flag emoji, fire emoji. Like I'm imagining General Patton in World War II just tweeting skull emojis. Like, great work, all powerful star. It cuts off the part where, yeah, JD Vance, right before they do the thing, says, I will say a prayer for victory. And then two other users added prayer emoji. People are just dropping praises before they send the missiles at Yemen, which is, again, wild. So that's where we find ourselves, folks. Now, I believe an intelligence service in America did confirm these texts. And because of the dates and times of the missile launches, it seems pretty open and shut. But when Pete Hegseth did land his plane recently, he denied them. Though I think that's going to be hard to hold up, just given how they line up with the character of everyone involved and also the times and dates of the missile launches. Hegseth. Sorry, yeah, I'm not good with his name. But yeah, what I'll say is, so the next, if you want to like be a little more forward thinking about all this, is like the real economic issue here, if we're sticking to econ, is that the biggest will they, won't they has been whether or not Iran will ever, because they're right here, right? They have this whole shoreline. If they mined up or did any kind of blocking to this strait, like $1.6 billion of oil goes through this every day. All of Saudi Arabia sends their oil out through this way. Like if they block this, it'll cause a doubling of global oil price and possibly like all out war. I mean, it would be like Kuwait sends their oil out through this, Qatar sends their oil out through this. This is a very important strait. And they've never done it, by the way, for forever, ever. Not in the history, not even like 70s, never. Iran has threatened it many, many times, but never done it because, first of all, if they do, it prevents their own ships from getting out. Like if they actually mined it up, and Iran is entirely funded by oil money. So it feels like an empty threat, but even a slight disruption here, like missiles fired here, would cause global market turmoil. And obviously, if their plan of funding rebels here doesn't work and they did something here, it would cause. So the Strait of Hormuz is very important and I think under-discussed. I can't imagine Trump reaction. I mean, again, the Trump maximum pressure campaign, as they've been calling it, is designed to get Iran to denuclearize because they have enriched uranium, which they say is being used for a power plant, but the idea is could be used for weapons. That's the standoff, is whether or not Iran will denuclearize. And I don't know what the Ayatollah will do. They've said they're not going to respond. They're not going to give in to the pressure or whatever. So it could escalate and then we don't know where it goes, but that's the idea. That's where we're at. Have you talked about Trump's comments on the topic? I think Trump said he didn't know about it. So Trump commented on people saying the group text leaked, and he's like, I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't, what, he said he didn't know about it, which he's not in the group text, so he probably didn't know about it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, he also said the Atlantic is a dying newspaper, a dying publication. No, he's like, nobody reads the Atlantic, which is really not the point. I think the real story here is that Trump is getting left out of group chats. I think the most important issue in this whole thing is that Donald Trump is like getting cut out of the boys group chat. And it's kind of like fucked up because like you want to be in the GC, you know, that's where the memes get thrown. That's where the funny emojis get thrown. No, but the reason he's not in it is because the opening of the group chat is Vance disagreeing with Trump. That's why he's not in it. Vance is saying that he doesn't think we should do this missile strike because, and that's his reason, is that he doesn't want to bail out Europe. He basically says, we'll take the loss on shipping so that Europe prices will go even higher and they'll have to go blow up the Houthis. Drama! I don't understand why the U.S. wants to lose soft power they have. I mean, for better or worse, my general stance is for worse, but this administration seems really focused on only hard power. Money, guns, missile, oils, and not on long-standing alliances or connections or geopolitical spheres of influence. That's their stance. I don't know. It feels very Brexit coded to me, right? Where Britain thought they were getting ripped off by the EU. They were like, we're getting ripped off by the EU. We have a bad trade balance with them or whatever. We're going to leave the EU. And then they left the EU and actually it just got worse. You were actually benefiting a lot from the soft power afforded by being a key member of the EU. I think they don't see that. I think they're only looking at the numbers and all the little powerful bonus effects that come from, you know, Europe being basically the little brother when it comes to defense. Like once Europe passes this big defense spending package led by Germany and they can make all their own weapons and they have their own weapons and they handle their own defense, well, then they don't have to ever they have less incentive to listen to America when America asks for collaborative tariffs or whatever, you know? It's just like, it's not or trade deals or whatever. It's just not really. Europe has lapsed for decades in their defense obligations to NATO despite Democratic Republican attitude. They know in a war with China and Russia, the U.S. will back them up, but the recent reinvestments in defense only been from that reality fracturing under Trump. Not a Trump supporter, but I don't think it's unreasonable to ask the rest of NATO to hold up their end of the bargain. Typers, dude. My response would be, unreasonable is kind of a weasel word there, right? People have asked before. You can always ask. If you were to find a way to do it where it seems like their idea, you can get them to spend more, it's fine. But to pretend like the whole situation hasn't been to the U.S.'s benefit is crazy. To act like the money we've spent on NATO is somehow us losing. It's the same thing as Brexit. It's the same thing. It's like, it's a country thinking by getting out of this deal, it'll all be better for us. But actually, I believe it'll be worse. It'll be more isolating with another strategic power that is at odds with us. It's higher taxes for us in Europe. Well, no, I mean, the thing is, the money that Europe has historically saved on defense, they've spent on a more extensive social safety net. which they've been pretty proud of, rightfully so. If they have to spend on defense, which they're doing now, I mean, they're going to encounter pains with that because they're already at the end of a debt cycle, same as everybody else. So it's going to be problems for Europe. I mean, every country's going to have problems, bro. We're at the part of history where every country's problems get real, dude. I want you to understand that. We're at the end of the party when they turn the lights on. The 2020s are the end of the party where the lights go on and everyone's hungover and the cleanup has to start and it's bad. We're in the bad part, and it's going to be messy and it's going to be painful and it's going to break alliances and it's going to cause problems and there's going to be unrest and political upheaval, and we're at the shitty part of the party. Zoomers, you got born in a really bad time. And millennials too, I guess, but especially Zoomers. Yeah, we're in the find out era. But you know, there's a way to approach this era that could be with like a little bit of grace. And I'm finding that lacking from this administration. I feel like they're like throwing kerosene on the fire.